trucks around early in October. We're just testing the engines. We're not starting early. I wanted to give you an update. There was some information in the packet regarding FEMA just approved the Township of Wyckoff's grant request for reimbursement of $448,000. That was for the cost to respond to the March 7th, 2018 winter storm called Quinn. Once we receive that check, it'll be deposited into fund balance for tax relief next year. So the good news is that they have approved our grant request. We just hopeful that we'll receive it before the end of the calendar year. The next meeting is October 1st, and that's the beginning of Fire Prevention Week. As you know, the Wyckoff Volunteer Fire Department prioritizes fire prevention as a key component of their fire program. What I'd like to do is to place on your agenda a resolution which would promote resident awareness and best practices in terms of preventing fires in their home. We have a program where we have about 7 or 8 social media posts that we put out through the month. I'd like to ask the fire chief to come, or a representative to receive the proclamation.
Yeah.
It allows us to further promote fire prevention awareness. You may not be aware, but today is Constitution Day. This day in 1787, a decision was made to conduct the first census. The first census was in 1790. The first director of the census was Thomas Jefferson. I went to a meeting today regarding the census, and they are beginning to gear up for it. They're hiring folks to go door to door at $21 per hour, and this year you're going to be able to report your census in a number of ways. One is online, one is by phone, one is by paper, and one is by personal visit. One of these folks are going to go door to door. The significance of the census is rather significant because they reported it's $675 billion a year in federal funds is distributed because of the census. And in 1980, 1990, and 2010, New Jersey lost 3 congressional seats because the census also determines the congressional seats. So it is important, just to put things in perspective, if this is interesting, is that in 1790, there were 3.9 million people in the United States. The biggest urban area was New York City with 33,000 people. Today, there's 330 million U.S. citizens. So just to put it in context for you. We will be promoting, as we do every 10 years, the census, this time with social media posts, and to encourage people that when they receive their letter, and they've told us when they're going to be sending the letter out next year, so we're going to try to time it to promote folks to report so that we can make sure we get our fair share of federal aid, both in Wyckoff and in New Jersey. A number of community events have been reported in your Township Committee newsletter. There's even more that will be reported in Friday. You may want to take a look at that. Today was the first day of the 3 days that we have the Bergen County Clerk's satellite office in Town Hall. They're set up in the West Wing Conference Room. They are providing, they will also be here tomorrow and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are taking passport applications, notary applications, senior and veterans cards, business trade names, and they had a brisk day today. They received 20 different applications, so it was worthwhile. We've been promoting that, and we hope additional Wyckoff residents take advantage of this satellite office. I also wanted to point out to you that Kids in Cops is going to be a Wyckoff Police Department event for Friday, October 11th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Wyckoff Family YMCA. It'll be for grades 6 to 12, and it's a wonderful opportunity for young people to get to know the police department in a positive and productive manner. I wanted to point out that Denise Caparello and I are working on pursuing a number of grant opportunities from the Garden Air Environmental Fund, and we're looking at trying to obtain some grants for energy efficient projects and hybrid vehicles. That work continues. As you know, we've been promoting the Know Before training module for cybersecurity preparedness. We have 12 out of 44 folks have completed that training. We're going to be putting full court press on everybody else before our subscription ends on November 1. I think that might be all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Get this done?
I think I might be, although I think I've misplaced a page, but
All right.
Wow, that's a full page.
I think that's about it.
All right. I'm gonna ask Ron from the attorney and Tom, anything for this evening?
We got as Bob said, we got the economy shop lease done. We got the cell tower lease amended for the packet, and over the weekend, she didn't get it to me by Friday.
I was gonna ask you.
But over the weekend, I got the overlays from Beth McManus and kind of a list of other things that we had to get done. I'll forward, I wanted to look at them to see if she made the changes we talked about in our subcommittee meeting, but I hadn't got a chance. It's on my list for tomorrow. I got a clean morning, so. But I think what I'll do is, I'm just gonna forward the email that she sent to me to all of you. You can look at it.
Okay.
If you have comments, get them to me, but I'll send that over to you tomorrow.
Okay, go ahead.
That was my only question for you, so, thanks.
Yeah,
Nothing, no correspondence on Demarest?
I got an email, I think I've got an email since our last meeting from the realtor just checking in saying, sorry, still waiting, so. As far as I know, it's not listed, right? It's not actively listed, it's not up for
No.
auction, I think we're just dealing with some corporate bureaucracy now, so.
I'd like to thank Rob and his office for the help with the PTO Economy Shop lease, and also that if the zoning ordinance could be introduced at the next meeting, then we have a planning board meeting to review them in between the
Right.
time for public hearing and
That's
further
right.
consideration.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we really haven't
Agree.
lost any time.
And
Yeah, I agree.
there are a few other ordinances, I think, that she has to do, so I'm gonna talk to her this week and see if we can get them all done so we can get them introduced
Okay,
at the
Right.
next meeting.
thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports, Brian, you want to kick it off?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. On September 7th, I took a echo cruise on the Hackensack River with Captain Bill Sheehan, who's the Hackensack River Keeper. And I mention this because he is someone that we've met because he's on the Bergen County Open Space Board. The tour is not expensive. It's kind of on a pontoon boat, and it's really fascinating to see the world, as it were, from that angle. We went under 3 railroad bridges and Route 3 and the Turnpike, and you really see what's down there. And he has a encyclopedic knowledge of the history of the place. And it's cleanup and preservation. So it's really interesting. They run them through, I think, about the middle of October, and then they close down until the spring. I wanted to report on the meeting with O&R. That was on September 10th. There were 5 representatives from the company there. And it was quite an enlightening meeting. I forwarded you the email that came in today. The precipitating incident for this meeting was a complaint from a resident on James Way who had experienced a service cutoff. And what we learned at the meeting is with the installation of smart meters, which is now completed in their service territory in Wyckoff, they are able to ascertain when there's an electrical problem in the panel. And And in this particular case, there was a danger of fire. So they wrote to this resident in April and explained the situation. Didn't hear anything, then sent a follow-up message. And it was only when they showed up to finally turn off the power because of the unsafe situation that he reacted. In the email that came in from them today, there is a list which we had requested of the other homes in Wyckoff, which, and there's a, next to each address, there's an indication of what's exactly wrong and what needs to be fixed. So these people have also received at least one letter, because after they ascertain that there's a problem at a particular house, they don't just send a letter, they actually go and inspect the situation at the home, and then they write the letter. Anyway, these are things that need to be addressed. I would recommend that we follow up with them and find out if these things have been fixed. And I don't know if we want to intervene in this or not, but or whether it's something for the fire department. I mean, we have to, I think, make a policy decision about whether we just want to be informed or whether we want to try to be proactive in getting the residents to correct the problems.
I just have I have a couple quick comments.
Sure.
If I'm not cutting you off. First of all, thanks for sending that information. It was very thorough, and appreciate you and Tim for attending that. And I know in the first example of that homeowner, it seems like, as most things are, it's always communications. That's one of the things that we've had difficulty with Orange and Rockland, with their communication. So anything we can do to stay on top of them, because, there's three sides to every story. They tell you this.
Yeah.
We know the residents called 19 times, they can't get anybody to pick up the phone. We don't know that.
They acknowledged that in his initial calls, which I think was detailed in the letter, his initial calls to their customer service, that he did not really get the information he needed. And I don't know if there was an expectation that they would come and fix the problem, but they have this door hanger which they leave, which we've all seen before. It's what's ours and what's yours. And, they indicated, well, you need to get a licensed electrician to come and fix your problem. But they did, and they were very upfront about it. They basically said, yeah, our customer service person, because they followed up on the letters that he had sent, did not give the appropriate information. And they need to fix that, basically. So.
And then they also noted that, which was helpful, that we're all enthusiastic about the quote-unquote fast-track Brookside
Yeah.
Ave underground, but now it's delayed.
Which is a fast track by
How
a year
did that
behind.
happen? How did that happen? Did they comment?
They
That was
actually,
their top priority, because we were.
they actually at the meeting did not, they basically, all they said, we asked about it and they said, we will send a status report, which we got today. So this is the first that I've heard that it's a year, basically a year in arrears. So we
Okay.
will follow up.
Okay, because coincidentally, there was representatives from Orange and Rockland at the Northwest Bergen Mayor's meeting. I believe it was June. And they told us how great it's gonna be. It's June, so that's
Yeah,
3 months ago. Everything is great, everything is fantastic, and it's just,
And what I noticed also, wasn't one of the things they were fast tracking was underground wires down Brookside
Yeah,
into
that's what we're
Allendale?
talking about.
Didn't they just repave that? I just,
The wires actually typically go not in the road, but alongside the road.
Oh, okay,
So
because I
they're
noted-
more easily dug up. So
okay,
they basically do it, where the telephone poles are now. That's the
that's good.
rough
'cause
line that they
I was
follow.
just riding on Brookside and noticed that it was just repaved.
I mean, they have to avoid other utilities, particularly the gas company, but that's what they're,
And I have one question. the people who have received letters, but it's still open issues, are those also people that have current fire hazards in their house? Or is it a variety of issues?
Well, I'm not a professional, but in looking at the list, I imagine someone could rate these in terms of what's more of a fire hazard than the others. But the cracked pans and things like that, I think would be the most dangerous, and 637 Wyckoff Avenue also has a pretty serious problem with corroded wires, so,
Bob, I know this is an electrical issue, but wouldn't the township have some sort of role? Fire department, building inspector?
Or the fire bureau.
I mean, safety has gotta be number one priority, but,
Right now, if we now know that there are fire hazards that
Yeah,
exist
I
in
mean-
town, I mean, this isn't just the problem of that homeowner, it's the problem of everyone on that block,
or in that
potentially.
shopping
I
center.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a fire prevention issue, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about hundreds of addresses, we're
Oh,
talking
you're
about
kidding
8.
me. Okay, 8.
We're talking about 8 addresses, so.
It's, in my judgment, it's a better policy to be proactive than to simply be informed
Right,
as
yeah,
it was
right,
defined.
right.
Um, You know, it might be best, you know, Brian, I'd be willing to work with you on crafting a letter that we can have sent on fire, from the fire marshal on fire prevention stationery, which would probably be the best approach, because it would signal to the property owner that this isn't something to put to the side, it's something to address proactively.
Yeah, and I think we could politely ask what they're doing to rectify the problem, or inform us if it is rectified, or if it isn't. I mean, try to get some sort of response.
I mean, is this all fire or, because my head keeps telling me it's building department has some role here, but maybe they don't. Electrical inspector or a visit from the building department.
Um,
I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I suspect you could send a letter from either the electrical subcode or the fire prevention. This is, listening to your conversation, this is alarming to me
Right.
as a volunteer firefighter. I
Right.
would think that we'd be in a better position to be helpful to
Right.
people, to underscore its concern as it relates to fire.
Yeah.
Well, we must have some ordinance if somebody has a dangerous situation on their property, that the town can somehow step in if there's a known dangerous situation.
We have
Unsafe.
Yeah,
Yeah. Probably, it's probably part of the property maintenance code.
right.
All right, so Bob, you and Brian, if you could pick up on that, and maybe you could just give us an FYI on October 1,
I think we'll,
how it resolved.
according to Orange and Rockland, PSE&G will be putting in its smart meters probably by the end of next year, so no doubt that we'll
There'll
probably
be
go
more
through
of
this
this,
again,
and
yeah.
and I would feel safe in saying that the PSE&G portion of town has many more older residences than the
Right.
Rockland end of town.
Yeah,
All right.
So there may be a greater number.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think, I agree with Bob, we need to be proactive. If we can prevent one structure
I think
fire,
so, too.
it's our responsibility to do so.
Okay. I would like to thank the fire department for organizing the September 11th service. I think it's really important to educate young people about this date of September 11th and what it meant for our country. And it's been a little bit concerning to me because I notice younger people, for instance, people that are, 15 to 20 years old who seem to have no clue, and I think it's important that we try to keep this as vibrant. There seem to be more people there this year than.
I think
than
the high
pre-
schools,
Yeah.
in fact, I know the high schools still do a very nice service at both high
Yeah.
schools, but it's my understanding that the K-8s have not done it for several years, because the kids weren't born then. I would think that'd be more important, but I don't know if they've changed it. I know one of the schools, because it was mentioned, it was Lincoln, one of the classrooms does something, but I agree with you, good point.
And then finally, on September 12th, I went to the Wyckoff Chamber meeting. Of course, you were there, Mayor, and so was Committeeman Boonstra. And we heard the remarkable story of a 9/11 survivor who was really just feet from the impact of one of the planes in the second tower, in the South Tower. I also, Melissa, I met with Howie Felix Broad and Lee Parker, and I can update you on their feedback on the plastic bag ordinance. I heard also from, I had sent the ordinance to Ron Honorato and Larry and Sarah. Ron Honorato being the president of the ShopRite Corporation, and he got back to me and actually said that he would prefer, if the ordinance moves forward, that he would only like reusable bags to be sold at the checkout counter, not paper ones. So that was kind of interesting.
And who is he now?
Ron Honorato, he's the president, so he reports obviously to Larry and Sarah, but he deals with the day-to-day operations.
Because I had ran into Larry at a wake, he mentioned he got some sort of an email or a text from you and said, if the town wants it, they'll abide by it.
Yeah, and this was his suggestion, that they only sell reusable bags at checkout, so. Okay, that's my report, thank you.
Okay, Melissa, you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
So the big meeting that I had this month was the Board of Health. We had Jillian Travilla and Melissa Frost from the Bergen County Health Department, and they are health educators, and we had an entire presentation about vaping, because that's obviously a big issue in our middle school and in our high schools.
That was big.
And it's obviously been in the news a lot. So they kind of told us about what they have 3-pronged approach to any kind of smoking, vaping, all that whole topic. Their first is prevention and education, second is cessation, and third is policy. And they told us about a program called Don't Get Vaped In. It's a program for middle schoolers, so we're going to try to, through the Board of Health, connect them with the schools, because they come in, and we're also probably going to try to do a joint Board of Health, something with the Y, to educate the public on vaping, because as we were talking to these, and the women who came were younger and they're really in touch with what's going on with the schools, we realized how we really knew nothing about what even, the vape looked like, what it was, what was in it, what kids were doing with it. And they taught us that, they don't just look like the ones that maybe you see in the news. The kids are coming in with ones that look like USB ports. They're really hiding them in the shape of other common items. The schools are trying to confiscate them, but they're really having a hard time keeping up. And originally it was, a problem that was a health problem like smoking. Now we've had 6 deaths from vaping, 3 cases of vaping illness in New Jersey, and that's just confirmed. The 3 deaths were antibiotic resistant. So it's a real public health crisis right now. We have hundreds of cases of these vaping illnesses. And often the kids really, you don't know what's in these vaping pods. So it was really a great education from these women. So it was nice to have them. Another issue that came up with Board of Health, and talked to Bob a little bit about this, is that we have in the Lawlands Corbett Park, we have a facility that's now being used kind of as a corporate kitchen, and people are subleasing from the gentleman who runs the space. So we need to come up with a fee schedule because we have not had this type of business in town before. Hawthorne and Midland Park both have these corporate kitchens, and these are kitchens that are used by people going to farmers markets, smaller bakers who sell their products. And so we need a fee both for the owner of the space and for the people who are subletting from him. So Bob, if you could look into that, maybe what Hawthorne and Midland Park are doing, because this is a first case for us. The trustees for Zabriskie House met with Connolly and Hickey.
Connolly and Hickey.
Connolly and Hickey, the folks who are doing the kind of the renovation and structural.
The structure,
structural,
they're
yeah.
working on the structural integrity of
Yeah.
the house, yeah.
And we will have some more answers on that next week.
Yeah.
And Environmental Commission, we did not have a quorum last week. As Mayor Madigan said, Bob said Kevin Hanley is going to be appointed tonight as our planning board representative. So we have one more seat that by the next meeting, by our October 1st meeting, we'll have someone to put forward for the Environmental Commission.
Is it going to be advertised like we did for the Historical Preservation Commission, that we could solicit for volunteers?
I thought it was, and we got, yeah, we
We got
have,
the applicants.
yeah,
We talked to them, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, we've been interviewing,
nice.
and I
We had
think
three
it was
applicants.
advertised. Bob,
Yeah,
was
we
it
pushed it.
Yeah,
advertised?
typically, we don't advertise for our existing boards and commissions. I mean, we advertise for the historic
The word
preservation because we needed a large pool of applicants to get it off the ground.
But it must have been
I think
advertised in some
historically-
out because we got,
Possibly on the
we got
website,
it was-
applications
Three nice
in.
applicants, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, what I can tell you is that we are, we're a little different from other municipalities. We have on our website the volunteer application, and we have the roster of each board, which is kept up to date by Mrs. Santamoro. It lists who's on the boards and it lists if there's any vacancies. And that's available 365, 24/7. It's always out there and, out there. Anyone who calls and expresses an interest, we refer them to the website, and they can, we advise them that they can fill out an application for a position that's open or a position that may be open.
In the future.
So,
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Rudy?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with the police department. There is a lot of items to report on the police department. And Tom, if I miss anything, fill in when you bring your own report up. We have since the last meeting, we've had a sergeant, one of our police sergeants has put in his papers with the Pension Bureau to retire. So he will be retiring as effective December 31st. I think his effective last day is like December 22nd. So what that will do is, for the police committee, will trigger a sergeant promotional process because our list of eligible officers to be promoted to sergeant expired last March. So we have to start over again and give the test and develop a new list of candidates to promote to sergeant. It will also trigger the recruitment of a new officer, patrol officer, at the probationary level. So there's a little bit of work ahead for the chief and for the police committee. We also discussed a plan which the chief has developed for helping safety at certain intersections in town, which have been the sites of close calls or frequent accidents or serious accidents. So we have a plan in place to do that. And we approved it, and the Scott Fisher from the road department is going to order the signs and whatever's necessary to make these improvements. We are going to institute, in fact, there's a motion tonight, I think, to institute a temporary vehicle weight limit on Mountain Ave from High Mountain Road in North Haledon to Sycamac Ave in Wyckoff. This is because of the weakened culvert near the, under Mountain Ave, near the corner of Ruett Farm Road. And the idea is to keep heavy vehicles off of that culvert because the heavy weight, 70,000, 50,000 pound trucks only weakens the structure further. So we have a process of a state grant that we hope to receive sometime next year, and we just hope to extend the life of the culvert until then. So what we're going to do is, we think we can work police department to police department with the North Haledon folks and get it done at that level, and the traffic will be diverted at the intersection by the food town in North Haledon. Bob mentioned already that we have received notice that we're receiving the FEMA reimbursement for $448,000. We have received and installed, well, actually, we've installed one, I believe, thus far, of the slow down thank you signs. They're motion activated. They actually have a radar device in them that can detect the speed, and if it's over the posted speed limit, they flash a warning, and when the motorist drops below the posted speed limit, the speed is reflected in green, and a thank you appears on the bottom. They're quite effective. We have one currently on Calvin Court by Eisenhower School.
I ride my bicycle from my house to the Glen Rock train station every day, and I pass two of them.
Yeah.
So I have constant reminders of how slow I'm going. But, no, I do see people slow down when
They're
because it
effective.
flashes red.
Yeah, a number, Hawthorne has quite a number of them, actually, and I pass by them, and they seem to be effective. So we're going to try them, and hopefully if they work, we'll order some more next year. We had a few injuries in the police department. We had one officer injure an ankle on the officer's own time, and has been out with a tendon injury, I guess. It was not broken. The officer will be returning on modified duty fairly soon. We had 3 officers injured in a melee assisting Allendale to apprehend the suspect who was fleeing. And one of those, two of the injuries were minor, and one may necessitate a little time off. We also have we'll have a vacancy in the police department. One of our desk attendants is leaving. The early daytime desk attendant has given us her notice, so we'll be looking for someone to replace her. We discussed having coffee with a cop at one of our coffee shops in town. We're planning to have that sometime this fall. I attended, along with the mayor, the PBA Local 261 Cornhole Tournament at the Y on this past Saturday. It was well attended. We were well received, and I think the PBA had a very good event. It was a very nice event. And Bob mentioned earlier the Cops and Kids event that's coming up. I attended it with Tom last year as the police committee, and it's really a great event to see the officers in a different setting with the youngsters from town. It's really a great event if anyone wants to attend. And I think that's it on the police committee. Planning board. We memorialized 4 resolutions, one of which was the Grace United Methodist Church subdividing 3 lots off of the main church site. Two of the resolutions were 2 months old because of the absence of Joe Perconti due to illness, and I have to thank Tom Garlick and Rob's office for pitching in and getting those 2 resolutions completed, so we were able to adopt them at the planning board meeting of the 11th. We did 2 other memorializing resolutions, one for a fence and one for a retaining wall. As Bob mentioned, the planning board has recommended the adoption of the ordinance we have in front of us tonight. Galasso Enterprises on Wyndham Court North has been carried to October. Once again, it's been carried. We granted a site plan approval to 403 Goffel Road. That's at the corner of Wyckoff Ave, down by Midland Park. The building has never had a site plan. It's all been pre-existing non-conforming. And the application of, on 225 in Houghton Ave, we had some testimony, but further testimony is needed, so that was carried until October. DPW, paving is finished, line striping is all but finished. If anyone sees a place where lines need to be emboldened or restriped, let myself or Bob or Scott Fisher know. The Mountain Ave closure I already addressed. Bob mentioned the repair of the walking path between Kenneth Place and Blum Court. So now, in the time between now and leaf collection, the DPW is doing some tree removal, some pothole details, and I'm told they're going to try to attempt to pour a foundation and set the barn on the Wyckoff Community Park, the one that came off of the Muir property, which would be great. I didn't know if we were going to get that before the bad weather. I, too, attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting. It was a fascinating talk that the gentleman gave. I said he was a witness to history. He was actually part of history. It was absolutely fascinating. I, too, attended the 9/11 ceremony. The interesting part about the 9/11 ceremony was the address was given by Reverend Vanderstreek from the Faith Reformed Church on Sycamore Ave, who was in Ohio. He was a college junior in Ohio on 9/11, and he was removed from it. And he said he never realized till he received the assignment to the church in Wyckoff 7 years ago, and his words were, "For you folks here, it was personal," and it says a lot. It really does, for the way we look at it and the way we don't comprehend how the rest of the country looks at it. It's for us, it's personal. I attended the Company One beach party a week ago last Thursday night at the Y, and last Friday night I attended the football kickoff pep rally, which was a well-attended event with a lot of energy. So that is all I have.
Been busy. All right, I just have a few things. First of all, I want to congratulate Rudy. Rudy last night was recognized for his 50th year of service to Wyckoff as a volunteer firefighter.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
congratulations,
Thank you.
Rudy.
I appreciate the efforts of Bob and the fire department, and I was fortunate enough because last night's departmental meeting was at my Firehouse Company 3, so it was very nice. Thank you.
Very nice. Congratulations. I, too, was at the 9/11 service remembrance. It was a very nice crowd. A lot of people were happy they were there. A lot of people commented that it's great that we do it every year and keep publicizing it and let people know, because it is very near and dear to all of them. I, too, was at the Chamber of Commerce meeting at the library the following day. Saw Brian Clark. I had heard his talk before and also seen his documentary. So if you think the talk was powerful, you got to see the documentary. I, too, was at the police committee meeting with Rudy. I think he thoroughly covered everything that we needed to cover as far as what's going on with personnel and other activities there. I think the excitement is building for the September 28th fireworks. I know I see signs popping up all over town. I had an opportunity to jump into a meeting last week. I was double scheduled. I dropped in with the committee. I know they're working very, very hard. So tell your friends and neighbors, we all look forward to the fireworks on September 28th. And I just had a comment. We talked about vaping, and it's a concern of mine. It's been a concern of many of the parents and many of the folks in the schools for a few years now. So we do unfortunately have many kids at our middle schools vaping. They have a lot of kids at the high school. We don't know what's in it. They put some other stuff in it, and I just want to go on the record saying I'm always perplexed, and I just don't understand where we have issues that are being introduced to our students and our future folks here in the United States. And now we're getting alarmed by it. Everybody wants to do something about it. Yet at the same time, we have the governor of the state of New Jersey pushing legalized marijuana. It's my personal opinion. I just don't get it. So I just want to go on the record with that. And with that, is there any other comments from anybody before we adjourn this portion of the meeting?
No, just looking forward to the Greek festival as well this
Oh,
weekend.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Greek Festival is this
Yes.
Friday night, all day Saturday, or Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and then Sunday during the day. We have a few minutes, and you caught us just in time, Mr. Shanley, coming from back-to-school night, I believe.
Yes, I was at Eisenhower back-to-school
Anything you
night
wanna
for the
say?
sixth
Want
graders.
to say a report, or tell us about the fireworks? I try to do a mini plug.
Sure. We are actively selling lawn signs for neighborhood donors. They're available for sale here at Town Hall. I will even offer to deliver it to your house.
Install it,
If it would-
and install it?
And install it on your lawn, if it would help sell some of these. The proceeds of those are going to go to the first responders here in Wyckoff. And, you know, it's the reason why the fireworks were originally became established in Wyckoff is because the fire department ran it as a fundraiser. And it turned out that they weren't really making much to do that again, so that's why we've kind of taken it over, although we're running it through the fire department so that it could be a tax deduction. And I'm sorry I'm talking fast, but I was running here. I ran from Eisenhower to the car, a little out of breath. Yeah, yeah.
Tim, if you want to give me some of the signs to sell, I'll post it on our
Perfect.
Lincoln School Facebook page. So I'll
That'd be
handle
great.
Lincoln School.
That'd be great, because I still have 100 in my garage.
Drop some at my house, I'll sell
And I want to
them.
thank Bob and Tim Brock and Joe Vanderplatt, the assistant chief, and the fire chief for helping me with this. I think it's going to be a great event, but we also need some prayers that we don't get rained out. Because unfortunately, we don't have a rain date because the Jewish holiday is the next day. So we can't do it on that.
beautiful.
So let's just hope it's like the last couple of Saturdays that we've had, because it would be great if it continued on. If it's going to rain any day, maybe this coming Saturday, not the following. So then again, it's on the 28th. It should be good. The committee's been working hard. My wife was out selling signs. She's also got some food trucks lined up. She's one of the committee people, so she's done a great job trying to help me. And it's been actually a pleasure working with my wife on a committee. It's the first time ever, so I think it's great.
Can we call you?
Yes, you can. You can.
filming you, so that's
We're on
good.
film,
It's on record.
it's on record
First time you've worked with.
First time.
on a committee. Hey, don't start putting words in my mouth. No, I love my wife, and I think it's just great that, you know, we finally worked on a project like this together. I think it's awesome.
Okay.
And then the rec board met on Monday night. The only thing to report is they voted to increase the fees on the spring and winter sports of $15 per basketball, baseball, softball. I think it's going to come to us at one of our next meetings to approve.
Okay.
And it was at the recommendation of Andy Wakefield, director. And then- all right?
Thanks, welcome. Hope you had a good back-to-school night. With that, can I
I
have a
did.
motion?
I left in social studies, though.
Just like the old days when you were in sixth grade.
No, I
right?
loved social studies.
Can I have a motion to adjourn
So moved.
Second.
this portion?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to take a brief recess to get a little organized, and then we'll open up our business.